Good morning, everybody. Not long ago, I was in Stockholm, Sweden. I went there as a keynote speaker in a pro-Israeli rally at one of the cities that are least friendly towards us in Europe. It was an unusual sight. We stood in Raoul Wallenberg Square, over 400 people, and we shouted together, "We love Israel." And for me, that moment held national significance along with personal significance. Raoul Wallenberg saved my father and my grandmother from death in the terrible winter of 1944 in the Budapest ghetto. I was born 2 decades later, a free man in a free land. A man who traveled to the square named after Wallenberg to say that we are grateful. But that's where it's ends. From that moment on in history, we took our fate into our own hands and we founded a state, a country that you can hold her flag up high anywhere in the world, in every square, and shout proudly, "We love Israel." On the sidelines of that rally, like at every event that Israelis are involved in, like at every appearance by an Israeli leader or diplomat in Europe and increasingly in the United States, stood a group of people shouting, "Free Palestine." I looked at them from a distance. Most of them weren't Palestinians. They were European liberals from whom the abstract idea that people deserve freedom seemed right. You stand and you shout freedom, and you feel like Martin Luther King in the 60s or Nelson Mandela in the 70s, all those incredible revolutions you've missed, all those amazing marches that you were too young to participate in. But Martin Luther King and Nelson Mandela knew something about freedom that those protesters do not understand. They knew that freedom is not just a gift you are given. Freedom is a responsibility you have to take. Freedom is a moral duty. I am committed to the idea of two-state solution, 2 states for 2 people. If I'm elected Prime Minister, I will work tirelessly to ensure that Israel separates from the Palestinians, not for them, but for us. Because of that commitment, it is my duty, it is our duty, to demand an answer to the question of what kind of country the Palestinians want to create for themselves. What is their version of freedom? What price are they willing to pay for it? What responsibilities are they willing to take upon themselves? The Palestinian Authority was founded in 1994, over 20 years ago. There are no Israelis in Ramallah, in Nablus, in Bethlehem. We don't interfere in their education, in their self-governance, or in anything which doesn't have security implications. When the Palestinian education system poisons the minds of 6 and 7 years olds every single day with the worst kind of anti-Semitic propaganda, that's not freedom. When they tell their children that Jews are like monkeys and pigs, they are not marching towards the liberation of Palestine. They are putting new chains on their own ankles. The system they have built is corrupt to the core. Billions of dollars transferred in donations were stolen. In 20 years, they haven't built a modern industry or an efficient justice system that will fight corruption. That's not freedom. That's a new form of oppression. In 2005, Israel left Gaza completely. We cleared out the settlements. We moved out the army. We even left behind 3,000 greenhouses for them to build an economy for themselves. They were given freedom. What did they do with it? The first chance they got, they elected Hamas, a fundamentalist terror organization. They destroyed the 3,000 greenhouses and instead built terror tunnels and rocket launch sites. And they shot 15,000 rockets on our children. Instead of building something, instead of creating something, they choose a culture of death and destruction. We live in a world in which good people and bad people use the same language. Terror organizations learned the jargon, the terminology of human rights organizations. They talk about freedom while suppressing women and religious minorities. They talk about justice while locking up anyone who dares to think differently. They talk about human rights while they murder innocent people. A 13-year-old girl was stabbed in her bed this year by someone the Palestinian calls a freedom fighter. A mother of 5 was stabbed at the entrance to her house while she protected her children by someone the Palestinians call a freedom fighter. A Jewish historian and his wife were murdered in their car, and their blood covered their 4 children in the back seat by someone the Palestinians called a freedom fighter. They called them heroes. They called them martyrs. If these murderers are caught, then while they sit in prison, the Palestinian Authority, not Hamas, the Palestinian Authority pays them a generous monthly salary. They take the donations from the United States and from Europe, meant to build schools and hospitals, and use them to pay murderers of innocent people. There is even a pay scale. Someone who murders 3 people will get more money than someone who murders 2 people. Someone who murders an entire family gets a governmental rank and grants. And in Sweden, and in Denmark, at UC Berkeley in California, and UCL in London, in the city centers of Ireland, people still stand and they shout, "Free Palestine." They don't even know what they're protesting about. It just sounds good to them. To stand in a square on the university campus, opposite the Israeli embassy or opposite a synagogue, and shout, "Freedom. Free the people who want to hang gay people from telephone poles. Free the people who beat their wives. Free the people who want to kill Jews. Free the people who want to burn churches. Free them. Don't ask what stands behind them. Don't ask what they really want. Freedom is a wonderful word. Everyone loves it. Freedom for everyone without questioning who they are or what they want. The world wants to free Palestine. We have the right to ask, what do they want to free in our backyard? If the Palestinians can't commit to building, to creating, to real democracy, how we will know that 5 kilometers from this building, we won't end up with ISIS or with a war like the one we have in Syria? You talk about freedom? Let's see you free us from that fear. Even before the State of Israel was founded, when we were under foreign control, we had an electricity company, a system of preschool for working mothers, a welfare system to look after the weak. In the first 20 years of Israel's existence, we built an outstanding educational system, a healthcare system that was the envy of the entire world. We won a Nobel Prize in literature. We built an economy and a society. Israel was a leading country for women's rights, for gays' rights, for minority rights. A country founded after the Holocaust, after the genocide of 6 million of our people. But instead of looking for someone to blame for our situation, we searched for a way to change it. The Palestinians are still traveling the world with keys to the homes they left in Sefat and in Haifa. They count on the world to forgetting that none of them would have had to leave their homes if they had accepted the 1947 United Nations resolutions, which called for 2 states, one Israeli and one Arab. Instead, they launched a war and they lost. That's the historical truth. But I don't want to engage in a historical argument with them. Instead, let me say to them, to the Palestinians, in the words of Alan Dershowitz, will you grow up already? Israel has over 6 million Jews who could travel the world with a key. Keys to homes in Iraq, in Morocco, in Iran, and in Algeria. Keys in Poland, in Germany, in Hungary. We don't do that because self-pity is not a very efficient policy. My father didn't travel the world with a key to the home he was evicted from in Europe. The only key he valued was the one to the new home he built for himself and for his children in the country he built along with his generation. A modern country, democratic, worthy of love and praise. So to the Palestinians I say, and the international community should say too, you want freedom? Free yourself from the past and go and build yourself a future. If you do that, we will be the first ones to help. Thank you very much.